Welcome to the WellPlayed DLC podcast, Australia's juiciest gaming podcast. I am Zach Jackson, and joining me is James Wood,
Howdy, gamers.
Adam Ryan,
Hello.
Nathan Hennessy.
G'day.
How are we all today?
So bloody good. Hey, Zach Jackson, what is the time?
Let me go to my new
is.
favourite website, time.is, and it is 20:35:34.
So accurate.
Down to the
I
millisecond.
do love numbers.
And in New York, it's 6:35 in the morning, 11:35 in London, 12:35 in Paris. Perth, which is not Tasmania, Perth, is 18:35. Beijing, 18:35. Tokyo, 19:35. Adelaide, 20:05, and Sydney, 20:35 as well. How we
Coming at you live.
That was wonderful.
it.
And of course, if you're listening to this at home, we hope you are absorbing this content at a reasonable hour, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
that is the time. Thank you.
Mm,
Back to you.
that was some good time, Zach Jackson.
Oh my
Let's
God.
talk about some video games.
Let's talk about anything.
Yeah, anything other than what time it is right now.
Anybody got any good stories or any good things that they've done or tried a new pizza joint? What's your here's a question for you. Pizza question without notice. When you find a new pizza joint, what's your go-to kind of pick? Like, is there like a safe
That's
option?
an excellent
Like,
question.
It is an
Yeah.
excellent
I
question.
assumed that there was one answer.
okay.
Which is?
Which is
Well, I mean, all pizza joints are judged by the standard of the margarita, aren't they? So
Oh nah, bro.
it's pepperoni or margarita, I would say.
Yeah, pepperoni, I
think-
think is the answer.
It's got pepperoni on it, I'll give you that much.
I think margarita was the more inclusive
Well,
suggestion
yeah,
I was
of
making.
course.
Fuck
Well,
you,
yeah,
eat
no,
meat.
All about inclusivity.
My
You're sure
no,
you
I
have
don't
played
mean
Pepperoni
stuff?
free
that.
margarita.
I don't mean that at all. I think so. The reason I would go pepperoni over margarita is if it's a shit pizza, at least the pepperoni can pull you through to eat the rest of it. If it's just a shit
some
pizza,
shitty
you've just
processed meat.
It's
Yeah,
great.
mate.
Mate,
when you go,
I'm
like,
easy to please.
That oil is a lifesaver to a bad pizza, though. So
Absolutely.
So if you're in Woolies or Coles and it's it's tough. Like things are tough. You got no dinner. You're looking at Dr. Oetker or his name is, and you go pepperoni.
a Nazi, by
Haven't
the
heard
way.
that name in
Is he really?
years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I actually don't know if it was straight up Nazism, but there was some white supremacy stuff in their history.
What the fuck, James?
Yeah, I know. This came up on Twitter recently because someone tweeted about how much they like those pizzas, and someone immediately replied, been like, "Yeah, delicious pizzas. Shame about all the fucking Nazi shit."
Right.
So yeah, go look it up. Do some research.
In that case, you're
This
going
is
to
the
go
most
McCain's.
bachelor bullshit ever. Fuck.
McCain, you've saved us again. And are you going McCain's pepperoni or McCain's margarita?
If it's a McCain's, I'm going probably like a Meat Lovers. That thing needs to be stacked with so much that I can't taste how bad that sauce is.
Well, that was kind of
Yes.
the point I was going for. So I'm glad that. Sure.
Also, the correct answer if you're getting a frozen pizza treat is pizza pockets any day of the week.
Oh,
Let it be
I got
known.
pizza pockets, and Anna nearly broke up with me.
She
Correct.
needs to reassess her fucking priorities, mate.
I know, right?
It's all stools and pizza with her. Tell you what.
You are grown ass adult men behaving like you're still at university. What the
What do you
fuck?
mean?
Well, okay, I agree with you that frozen pizza is a terrible idea from the jump, right?
I have no frame of reference for anything they're talking about. It's been so long. I can't go back to them
Interesting.
days. Like I haven't had pizza pocket in like 7 years.
I think that's maybe
To be fair, I only
The
had them
issue that you're
recently,
having.
and I haven't had them for a long time.
the issue.
I think you are the issue, Nathan, and the answer is a pizza pocket, mate. So between now and next podcast, I want to hear you have a pizza pocket experience. That's your task for this week. Come on.
Has James had a pizza pocket?
Uh,
You can't fuck it.
yeah,
I'm
not
gonna
not
give
for
you
many
that.
years though. To be fair, I was just making sure that I wasn't committing some kind of like what was that when you speak out of turn about someone and you defame them or whatever, and they can sue you and shit. I was not doing that about the pizza guy though. He actually was a Nazi, so it's fine.
libel, isn't it? Or is that
Yeah, libel. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
anyway, so last week we somewhat decided on the well-played biscuit of choice, and now we're going with pepperoni as the well-played pizza of choice.
Reluctantly.
Yeah.
Also, Nathan, don't you need more
Fucking
toppings?
pizza pocket up you, Nathan.
Don't
Jesus
you need
Christ.
more toppings on that pizza to kind of mitigate the dairy impact of the cheese so you don't shit yourself as hard? Like,
I don't think that's how that works, actually.
Not at all.
I don't know. But there's more like,
start with that.
It's like when you have, I don't know, I've got nothing with that. Anyway, good pizza. Happy with that.
Fuck oath.
Video games, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Shout outs.
Let's talk about them. That's why we're here.
Is it?
All right. That and time.is. It's brought us together.
I feel like we've really grown tonight.
We have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bold new territories.
All right. What is everyone... Has everyone been playing anything? Because I know we've got a few reviews to talk about. But has anyone got any freebies that they want to share?
Freebies.
Oh.
I do. I think this is the format to talk about it in.
Like no
over the weekend
is what I meant.
Yeah.
Yes. Over the weekend, I played a whole bunch of Concord with the closed beta having taken place. Yeah, so did everyone else. The consensus is that it's like a world-ending shitstorm for PlayStation, and they shouldn't have backed it. And I can't believe they're putting resources towards this thing that isn't a single-player adventure game. I sit on the other side of the fence, and I had a really good time with it. I know that James has played it.
You're gonna buy it?
I have.
Didn't like it.
2 hours. Oh, I didn't love it, but
maybe
it's not my genre. Like, yeah.
I've definitely heard a lot of takes that it is more or less flaming dog shit. I know that our good friend Skill Up was less than pleased with it overall.
The most damning thing he said was derivative.
He also said it didn't have a mini map, but it certainly fucking does. So, I don't know.
Does it have a mini map?
No. He makes this interesting statement about 3/4 through where he says, the sound design's really good. You can hear people like running around corner, and that's important because there's no mini map. And then the next shot, mini map. And then the rest of the video, mini map.
Definitely a mini map.
Felt for him. We make gaffes.
I don't know if you want to be taking that man's advice. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to start beef with anyone, but if you can't see a mini map,
that's it.
But no, I certainly vibed with it. It's got elements of like it has the focus on gunplay from something like, I don't know, a Call of Duty or maybe an Apex Legends, but then it has the hero-ness, I suppose, of something like Apex or Overwatch. But none of the hero abilities are overbearing. It still has a core focus on the gunplay, which I enjoy. There's no ultimates, so there's no moments where someone just hits a button and completely changes the fabric of the game. It's maybe a little bit more focused on just the moment-to-moment skill of the team. All of the characters, I think, have fucking phenomenal design from a visual standpoint. I think they are very, very cool. And a lot of their abilities are fun to play with as well. Definitely got its downsides. I think it's got a whole bunch of systems that are tacked on that aren't explained to you at all. Are a bit, they're just fundamentally a bit clunky as well. Like there's a whole roster system that you put together, and you can kind of mesh their passive abilities together if you play them consecutively. And there's a whole lot of stuff that probably needs to be trimmed down a little bit and better explained. Hopefully it is better explained in the full release, I would hope. But as a beta and kind of an entry point into the game, I really, really enjoyed it. And when the beta ended, I was a bit sad because I wanted to continue playing it. So to answer your question, Zach, that I did hear you ask, yes, I will be buying and playing this on day one. I was convinced enough where I want to jump back in.
Spend money on it.
Yeah. I said this to Ash, because we played a bit together, that I kind of miss when, I don't know how to phrase this without coming across like an asshole, but free-to-play games are becoming they're coming harder and harder for me to invest any time in, because you have to either spend a whole bunch of money on microtransactions or invest a whole shitload of time into to get the full experience. I do kind of miss the days where you just have an upfront cost and then you just have the game, and you know, there are progression systems to unlock cosmetics or whatever the fuck it is. It doesn't matter, but you just have the game. Like when you buy Concord, there will be 16 characters. You can just fucking play them. You don't have to unlock them, and there's seasons where you have to grind your way through it. It is just nice to have a purchasable product. And I understand that doesn't work for everyone, and the free-to-play model is very enticing, but yeah, I do just like that it is a product and it will be full on day one. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
How much are they charging for it?
It's like 69, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's between 50 and 60 bucks. I think it's 60. I'll do a fact check. How's that?
Is that on price.is?
Price.is says $59.95.
I kind of feel like $29.95 would be a better sell for this based on what I saw of it. Just because it seemed pretty like there was 3 game modes in the beta.
4 in the beta.
Okay.
And then there's I know that there are more that will be in the full game, but I don't off the top of my head know exactly how many.
They've made a choice where it's like, so if it's like a payload one where you have to pick something up and take it to a location or hold a certain location to whatever these game modes are called, they've made the choice where you can't respawn though. Like it's just you're out and you're done until the next round, and I find that baffling, if I'm being honest. I guess the idea is like it's meant to encourage like team synergy, right? And you're meant to sort of huddle up and play as a unit. But I found a lot that people would get clipped pretty early and then they would just leave the match because you don't want to be sitting around for the next 3 minutes waiting for the next thing to happen. And so oftentimes, sorry?
There's no backfill either. So if you lose that person, there is no backfill. So you're just going to be down a person.
Yeah, me and a mate were the only ones left on a team twice. And it sucks. It's just not particularly fun to do. Made for a great screenshot of like the, you lose screen where it's just the 2 of us standing there. But yeah.
Those game modes are definitely dependent on the team that you're with, because I know that Ash and I had a few games of whatever they're called, they capture the point or payload, where we had a great time because we had a good team, and then we had a super shit time because that exact thing happened. And then obviously the other game modes that do have respawns are a bit more casual and a little less chaotic as well.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely think there's a lot of things that need to be tightened and tweaked, but the core gameplay I really, really enjoyed. It's very tight as far as gunplay is concerned, and it's ridiculously well polished for a multiplayer game, which is very rare to see these days.
Nice. James, any more thoughts on Concord?
I thought the maps were a bit dull.
Yeah.
But I did like the character abilities though. You're right, the shooting did feel pretty good. Did you find that this whole promise of like a narrative-driven multiplayer shooter, did you get much out of the sort of narrative elements of this? Or
I'm a real sucker for this sort of shit, because with Apex and with Overwatch, I always find myself wanting more from what they offer. I never really vibe with like if you pay attention to what character A said to character B when you jump on the payload, then it gives you a little bit of lore. Like they build these characters that look so visually interesting, and then there's like the narrative is just kind of not there. So I would be very down if they can keep up with the weekly cadence of doing new like little cinematics. And I think the little amount that they did give was enough to kind of perk my ears up a little bit. Like it's fuck all. It's like maybe a 1 minute little snippet, but I'm open to the suggestion of that sort of storytelling in a multiplayer game.
Yeah, that's fair. I skipped it, so that's.
And I think
just
lots of
held
people
that
will.
skip button. Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of people will for sure.
Yeah. Cool art direction though. Like it does look good. I just,
Yeah.
it was a Saturday morning, and I didn't really care to get invested in the world of Concord.
No, very fair. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You won't be alone in that at all.
Yeah.
Very nice. Nathan, you got anything you want to talk about before we hit the
I guess
content?
it's pretty small, pretty brief. So I think based on the conversations that we have outside of podcasts, you folks probably get the impression that I've got experience with like colony sims or city builders or stuff like that, like general strategy
I'd
games.
assume so.
But
Yeah.
really, I can't think of an example of any city builder games I've actually been invested in for more than a couple of hours, beyond maybe a couple of the Tropico games.
I
So
thought
you
you
can
like
play like a satirical
Civ and shit.
tyrant. Sorry, Civ.
Yeah.
Yeah, Civ's not so much a city builder,
Right.
but I see what you're getting at. So yeah, like absolutely, like grand strategy kind of things. Yeah, sure. But like focusing on developing a little town settlement, bigger.
Right.
Nah, not really, because we got Frostpunk and that on the horizon. So I'm kind of wanting to amp myself up a little bit in that genre because I really don't have any of the fundamentals down. So moving forward, found myself playing Ubisoft's Anno 1800, the last Anno game that they've brought out. Which has got quite a gentle onboarding into that type of genre, and that's a series that's been around for a few decades now. I think those folks are probably responsible for founding a lot of that genre's norms and shit like that. But I found it really cool, and I've got the board game as well by legendary designer Martin Wallace, Aussie resident. Yeah, I'm a industrialist now, boys.
Nice.
Loving it.
Solid. James, you got anything else?
Ubisoft.
Yeah, Ubisoft.
Sorry, that's just a pairing I wouldn't have imagined.
It's so refreshing, man, because it shrugs all the shit of their Ubisoft design for something very different. It's really cool.
Cool.
Nice. James, you been playing anything else other than... No.
Nah, just some content mines.
Let's go.
Oh, he's so ready.
Let's go. Let's dive into it. Let's hear about Conscript, shall we?
Oh, are we starting with Conscript?
Okay. We'll start with Conscript. Wait.
Real dog with a baby.
Oh, sorry, that's last. What? Sorry. It's the first one I read in the doco. Okay. We can go to Flintlock if you want.
Well, like Flintlock's like the release of the week, right? Like I think it's the one that's gained the most traction outside of our sicko circles, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah. I'd wager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All due respect.
I have no respect.
All right,
Dungeons.
Adam, let me read the doco.
Yes.
You have reviewed Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn.
I have. Yes. I was pretty excited for this one. The trailers, whoever's in the marketing team for Kepler or A44 definitely deserve a raise. I think the trailers for this game have been impeccable at kind of setting the tone for this action RPG that A44 are calling a Souls Light. So the idea is that it has the combat style from a Souls game, as well as the respawning enemies, the bonfires, the lodestones, that sort of thing. But it's a little bit more approachable and a little bit more accessible. It's not as devilishly difficult, and it has a bit more of a focus on open zone exploration, I suppose. I open my review with a terrible allegory about you can have too much of a good thing, likening my obsession with chocolate and destroying blocks of old gold and whatnot because I have no self-control.
How do you eat chocolate, by the way? In a mug?
From a mug. Oh, for fuck's sake. I was right there. I was so close.
Too slow. I mean...
In a mug with a knife.
Well played, mate.
And I likened that to the Souls-like genre and Souls-like influences because over the last couple of years, we've been bombarded with Souls-likes. FromSoft themselves have been at it for like 15 years, and we've seen lots of imitations and lots of borrowing elements from Souls-like into other action RPGs. And I can't remember the game I was listening to a review of, but the amount of times that the word Souls-like came up in a game that isn't a Souls-like game, it was just a straight action, just an action game, not even RPG, was staggering. And it's kind of left me not wanting to play Souls-like games, even from FromSoft. I'm just kind of, I don't know, I've reached my quota. So going into Flintlock, knowing that it was a Souls light, I was hoping it was going to be pretty light on the Souls. Unfortunately, it's not as light as I would like, and it does lean pretty heavily into those tropes. Regardless of whether it fits thematically or not, I think the respawning enemies is a bit played out at this point, and I think this game overall just would have been better as a straight action game. Maybe even rip out the RPG elements of it. You can upgrade, you can get new moves, new abilities for you and your little pal Enki, who kind of all right, going back a little bit. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. You play as, I want to say Rebecca. No, her name's Nor Vanek. She's a sapper, which is certainly something. I think it's a mechanic cross soldier. It's not explained awfully well. She's part of the coalition. It's a big human force that's fighting back against the dead, capital D, dead, that are pouring out of a door to the underworld. It's all very, it's a lot of narrative to chew on. It's a new IP. That's kind of to be expected. But you more or less you go to try and quell the tide of the dead pouring out of this door. Shit hits the fan. Gods from this underworld are unleashed into the world, and you meet up with one of them, Enki, who is this little feathery fox guy, very mysterious. Who knows what his deal could be? And he escorts you on your journey to kill all the other gods. So you, as a sapper, you have an axe and a pistol and a musket. The musket is more or less for ranged use. I will be honest, I didn't touch it a great deal. When you do get a instant kill headshot, it does like the Sniper Elite bullet time thing. It's real fucking weird. I don't know. I think it was more of a we can do it rather than we should. But general combat is very kind of God of War-esque, using your axe, and then your pistol comes into it when an enemy tries to come at you with an unblockable attack. You get the little red orb near their chest, and you can interrupt them by shooting them, and then you can counterattack. You've got a parry to take out armored enemies, or just to do a riposte and do extra damage. It's all pretty tried and true. It's all kind of by the book. It doesn't really stand out in any great way. It feels fine. It feels okay. My major gripe is that a lot of the enemies just kind of attack you out of the blue without any animations to kind of suggest that they're going to attack you. So it can throw off your rhythm quite a bit, which is an issue because it does the one cool mechanic that it does have is the reputation multiplier. So reputation, you can read XP, souls, whatever you like. The base amount that you will get multiplies the longer that you keep a chain of like a combo going, more or less. So the longer you go without getting hit, the higher your multiplier will go, and then you can manually bank those whenever you like. So there's like a little push your luck mechanic to gaining XP, which I think is really fun. But those enemy encounters and the lack of wind up or any sort of animation clue, and it just kind of it goes against that whole mechanic. So you'll be doing really well, you'll want to bank it up, and then someone will just gank you from out of nowhere and you'll be back to square one. So it's not satisfying.
The dead also have guns, right? And so because the camera is in pretty close on the character, you might not see that there's a dude lining up a shot on you from way off screen, and then suddenly you've lost all of your multiplier because the game just fucks you. It's unsatisfying.
It really is. And it's unfortunate because I really like the idea of the mechanic, but it doesn't mesh well enough with the combat itself. I also really like the setting and the general, like, I think the lore Bible for this game, if that makes any sense, is awesome. I really like the idea of these malevolent gods that are just kind of pouring into the world, and then they kind of poison all of the bureaucrats, and it kind of feeds down to the trench fighters and whatnot. I think that's really cool. It's got a very Napoleonic look to it as well. All of the sappers, whatever the fuck they are, have like a very cool fantasy-based Napoleonic look to them. All of that's
Sappers,
really
SAPPERS?
It is.
It is.
Yes, that's an actual that's a military designation for a mechanic.
Huh.
Excellent.
So what you're saying matches up. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
There you go.
Just a little trivia there for you.
Yeah.
I'm glad because I'm glad you're telling me, because as someone who doesn't have a great deal of knowledge in military history, I had no fucking idea, and the game doesn't really explain it to you. So
I mean, it's still out of
Cool.
place. It's fairly modern, but yeah, that's it. Still sounds cool on paper. Yeah.
yeah, it's just so uninteresting in practice. Like as it's moving along, the writing and a lot of the performances, unfortunately, are just they're very lifeless. Like there's nothing to attach you to it. You're in this cool world, you're in the cool setting, but there's nothing to ground you to any of these characters or make you care. And I really wanted to. There's one story beat really late on that I thought had some teeth, but it was way too late, and there was just it was yeah, too little too late by that point. That's kind of all I have to say about it. When I finished it, the game's also fairly short. Like I very much went golden path, and I finished it in about 8.5 hours. There is side content that is certainly there. They're very capital S side quests. Like run here, kill a thing, come back, get a new bit of gear. It's fine, but it just didn't leave any impact on me. And I think that's the game's biggest crime, is I finished playing it and I had already kind of forgotten about most of my journey through the game. And it's unfortunate because foundationally it's really interesting. It's just mechanically just not. It's a bit of a bummer.
Did any of you folks ever play? Can't think who developed it now, but it was back in the Xbox 360 times 2 Human.
Yeah, very briefly, but I have played it.
Know of it.
Everything you're telling me sounds very much like that, like a game that narratively sounds really cool on paper. Sounds like it's setting up something really interesting, fresh IP.
Yeah,
that was doing a twist on Norse mythology, but the combat was like a bit scattered as to what it was trying to do. So it was always at odds with itself and never satisfying, which is very much what I'm hearing from you. It's such a shame.
It is, yeah. It's one of those that I really would like them to have another crack at it. Maybe. I don't know if fundamentally they can build on what they've got there, but I
Maybe a different pair of hands.
Potentially. I love the ideas that are there. It's just the execution's a bit messy. James, I know because we've talked about it already, but is there anything else that you have to add? I know that you kind of echo.
So James also played this for those listening at home.
Yes,
I think that's been mentioned.
Yeah,
if it wasn't obvious.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said. I don't think the combat feels particularly good. I think it is serviceable in the same way that almost everything in this game is serviceable. But it's quite floaty. There's a lot of focus on verticality of movement because Nor can use like gunpowder to enhance her jumps, and then Enki can also use these portals in the sky to like whip around and shit. And you notice it from the jump because when you first jump as Nora, she kind of T-poses for a second and glides forward a little bit. It's the most awkward animation. And so it just feels wrong from the jump. And then, you can't really land on a lot of roofs. You just glitch through them and slip back down again. And so it's like with everything it does, whether it's the XP multiplier or the verticality or the lore, it's like, here's a cool thing that's just out of reach. It's like, sorry, it's not ready. It's not polished. It's whatever. It just, total bummer of a game. And the opposite direction of Ashen as well, which was refined and minimalist and was impressive because of those things.
I think that's why I was so disheartened by the Souls elements to it, because I think if you just stripped all of that shit out, I just really don't think you need
not
any of the
at
Souls
all.
elements. I really genuinely don't even think you need the RPG elements to it either. I think you can maybe drip feed some abilities here and there. Have it be a straight linear action game, and I genuinely think it would benefit from it in a massive, massive way, because that would allow them to focus more on tightening up the combat and just telling a coherent, decent story. But it just, it's too many elements. It's too many cooks in the kitchen, and it just doesn't nail much of anything. Which is, it is a real shame.
What's the number we're putting on it?
I'm floating around a 6, I think. I think that's where I sit. I think everything is, like James said, there's nothing that's broken, and I think it's all very serviceable. And the ideas behind it are great. The designs are fantastic, but it just doesn't leave an impact. It's very forgettable, which is it's unfortunate.
Yeah, bummer. Because I know that you were keen for quite a while.
I was, and it sucks.
No good at all. Well, shout outs to Kepler for the codes for that one. You can go read James's review over at Press Start for that one. What are you scoring it, James?
I also went with a 6. Yes, it's not quite broken enough for a 5 range, but
no,
it's also not anything. So,
well, speaking of things that are something, I have reviewed Dungeons of Hinterberg. So, as you probably know, if you've listened to this show a while, I've been pretty keen for this game for a couple of years now, and now it's been in my hot little hands for the past couple of weeks. Actually, no, the past week. I really like it. But before I go into it, James, you've played 20 minutes or so, half an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
What were your initial thoughts?
The premise is incredible. Like this. Do you want to go into the premise, or
sure,
are you happy for me to?
Maybe I'll go with the premise then, and then we'll cut back to you. So, so this is a game which is set in the Austrian Alps, in this little small town called Hinterberg, and 3 years prior to the present day in the game, these magical dungeons popped up. 25 of them popped up around the village, and it's now become like a touristy hotspot where people from all over the world come and basically slay monsters in these magical dungeons. And there's 4 different locations. Each location gives you different magical powers. And you basically go there as and I want to talk a bit about this because this is what kind of resonates a little bit with me personally, and I think it'll resonate with like a lot of people, probably everyone here, right? But they're open to my review, which is the only bit I've written so far. But it's like, have you ever had a point in your life where you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, where am I going in life? What am I doing? And this game kind of tackles that, right? This is Louisa, who you're playing as. She is a young lawyer or a junior lawyer who I think is like basically questioning, is this the job that she wants to do for the rest of her life? So she's like, fuck this, and she sets off to this town of Hinterberg to go and tackle these dungeons, and just, she just takes a risk, right? So I kind of like that because I've at times felt that. I felt trapped or a bit stuck, just from a job wise and stuff like that. So, and I've often been like, just haven't quite had the balls to take it like a risk like that. Not that I'm going to go and slay monsters, but when there's been opportunities to take a big risk, I've kind of just stayed in the safe zone. So I did quite like that. But basically the story, without going into any spoiler territory, is essentially that you are there to explore these dungeons, and every different day you can explore a different dungeon. So you could spend X amount of days in this game. I actually asked the developer last night, is there like a time limit on this? And there is no time limit. So you can just, but I'll go into the day detail in a bit. But James, what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, that premise is so immediately captivating, and it doesn't shy away from the fact that it's billed as like, hey, what if the world as it exists today, on the existential brink that it is, got access to a bunch of fun dungeons where you could, guilt-free kill things and feel like a hero, right? And that is such a cool thing to build from. I definitely wonder if it talks about that maybe and sort of capitalizes on, I think, some of the undercurrents of that as a narrative, because I think that there is a really interesting subtext to a lot of that. But like just from the jump, it's infectiously colorful and interesting. Like Hinterberg looks really beautiful. The character seems charming and nice. And then you meet your first monsters and you can have a conversation about, hey, are these things sentient or not? And the game kind of hand waves it away. And again, I'm curious, like, there's so much in the beginning of this game that I'm like, yeah, this could be really interesting. Does it get interesting? Or does it just kind of maintain that same degree of like, yeah, charming?
It is very, very charming. I thought, how do I play it safe? So there is a secondary narrative here. So I thought this was about you coming to Hinterberg as a lawyer, just trying to find your thing and go and kill monsters and do stuff. But there is a second narrative at work. You will probably early-ish on, you will get a rough idea of what that is going to be. But it does tackle things like, I don't know if like manipulation is the right word, but like political sort of stuff, right? Like, but I won't go into it any more than that, right? So, but yeah, because if you want to go experience it, like, you best off experience it for yourself. I haven't rolled credits yet, by the way. I'm up to day 25, 26, and I've done 22 of the 25 dungeons. So I'm almost at the end. Now, the way it works is that you get every day you basically have the option to explore one of the 4 areas. Now, initially, 1 or 2 areas are open. So what I will say is that very early on, there's an earthquake, right? And then, I think it happens in the first dungeon, right? There's an earthquake, because you would have played that bit when you got to the end of the first. Yeah. So
I did laugh when, like, she goes into that first dungeon and immediately the guide is like, it's never done this before. Like, oh, no shit. But yeah.
Video games, eh?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so anyway, so this kind of earthquake plays into this secondary kind of narrative, and there's, but essentially your first day, your day, you start, and then you speak with a character, usually in the morning, pick a destination, and then you go to that place, and then these are like, I guess you'd call them like open areas, or kind of smallish biomes, if you want to use that terminology. So each one is distinctly like different in terms of its color, and we'll get to the colors in a sec, because this is James, I think, used it best. It's like, it's an infectious color palette. Like, it's very, very bold. It's like this cell shaded, like thin cell shaded thing, and it's got like a little bit of halftone to it. So if you look behind it, there's like a halftone, like those little dots and stuff that, and it's phenomenal. I think it's one of the best looking games I've ever seen, and the colors are just so bright, so bold, and they all it just works well together. And it's a place that you want to explore, because it feels so fun and not dull and dark. And there's a place that's been overrun by magic, and you can go kill stuff, but it's bright as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's not grim. And anyway, so then you go to one of those 4 locations, and then you will run off, and there's maybe half the dungeons are signposted, or most of the dungeons are signposted, right? But it's actually finding all the dungeons is the difficult bit. So you'll need to actually traverse through the world and find the dungeons. The dungeons are leveled off, so you will have to be a certain level to kind of tackle these. You could probably go and do it, but you probably won't survive, because they are quite challenging in terms of the bosses. So yeah, you pick a dungeon, go through the dungeon. At the end of the day, you will come back into Hinterberg, and that's when you're given this second part of the game, which is like they call it like a social sim, but it's a very, very light social sim, where you can actually go and explore Hinterberg at the night, and there's like 10 characters in this world that you can actually go and explore. Now, not explore, you can go and converse with and chat with.
Yeah. My kind of game.
And each character gives you different perks. So there's 4 main stats in the game, and that is, let me see if I can get them all right: amusement, renown, relaxation, and familiarity. God. They're the 4 stats, and each character will do a different one, right? So you spend a night with this journalist who is writing a piece for his magazine, but he wants you to like take pictures for him. So, you go to the bar. That heightens your amusement. And then one of his perks as being friends with this dude is you unlock photo mode, right? So it's, stuff like that. Then there's other stuff where you'll unlock extra health slots, extra magic slots, stuff like that. Yes. So gameplay style, action RPG, adventure-y kind of game. You get gear, you get weapons. You can buy stuff with what they call as Hinterbucks, and I like this idea. It's again, it's a video game, right? But the city of Hinterberg introduced its own currency to make it all like a level playing field for everyone coming into Hinterberg. So it wasn't like you can't just people, the richest can't come and just buy whatever, which is kind of, but also it lets the game have its own currency. But yeah, so you can actually buy shit, but I found that basically I didn't need to buy stuff. I was like, I have so much money. So I went and bought like an $80,000 sword. Then in literally the next dungeon, I opened a chest and I got a sword that was better than the sword I just bought. So,
classic.
But yes, in terms of the gameplay, hack and slash in each world. So yeah, so there's 4 different worlds, and each one will give you get different magical powers in each world, and they play into the puzzle elements and also into combat. So the first one, you get this like ball chain thing, I think it is, and that retracts back. James, am I correct? No, did you even go?
Tried the sword, so yeah.
Fuck. I can't remember the first. So one of them is like this like tornado. It's like and you can go into this tornado, and it actually heightens you, lifts you up into levels that you can't reach. And also over areas that are dangerous. So there might be like an area that's full of thorns, and you obviously can't walk over the thorns to get to this ledge because you die. So you go in the tornado, and off you go. I think the other one. Oh no, it's a bomb. Sorry. The other one is a bomb. So you can have this bomb that you can detonate to blow up walls and stuff. The second one is the ice or the snowy landscape, and that gets you like this hoverboard snowboard thing, which is really fucking cool. So you can literally glide around the snow thing on this like hoverboard. Nice. There's rails and stuff on there, and I think that's the one where you have the retract thing. You can pull it and you can basically into bridges and stuff to retract them back. Another one is a swampy area, and that lets you create like this jelly-like big block that you can then climb up and then again reach other levels. But the cool thing with all these is you use them all in combat, right? So this jelly block, if you have like 3 or 4 or however it may be different enemies there, you can actually freeze them in this jelly block and like just hack and slash through them, right? So yeah, it's mainly hack and slash. There's no parrying or anything like that. There's a dodge, heavy attack, quick attack, and then you also have your other magic attacks. So you get 3 different. There's heaps in this game that you can do on the back end. So your swords can have these what are called charms, attack conduits, and they like give you different perks. So like increased damage, increased magical damage, stuff like that. And then there's charms that you can get, and you actually get like a charm slot, which is like you get 10 slots, right? And then initially your charms might be 3 slots, right? Or 4 slots or 5 slots for a really, really good one. But then this character that you will meet, she'll ask you to go and collect magical elements throughout the world, and you go to her, and then actually that decreases all these charms. So basically you get to a point where every single charm is like 1 block. So you can literally just have 10 charms in this block. So you've got all these different 10 other perks, and that's things like your magic recharges faster, your damage does more, all like little stuff like that. Yes. Now I forgot what I was saying. Yes, and the other thing is there's these like what they're called like attack conduits, and they're like 3 like magical powers that you can actually perform inside like a fight. Each fight is kind of like an arena, like it kind of raises up this little barrier that you got to beat the enemies before you can progress. But it is just as much of a puzzler as it is a combat game or an action game. So there's levels that are you got to use. There's actually one puzzle that took me a long time to get through, and there's also different I can't think of the word, but like angles or viewpoints. So it'll become like a third person game, and then you'll go into this other spot and it becomes like an isometric game. And then you can go like on the side, you'll be walking on the side as well. So you got it's all very, 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 very cool. I had a blast. I won't go into too much more about it because there's heaps that I could talk about, but I know we're got a time limit. But yeah, loved it.
Time is limit. Thanks.
Time.
Adam from WellPlayed.
Hi, Adam from WellPlayed. I have a quick question. I can see, because I'm just watching some gameplay of it, and it does, like, visually, it is very impressive. Are there like little open zones that you kind of wander around in for the social aspect of it, and then you just pick which dungeon you want to go to, and then it's kind of a linear experience in the actual dungeon itself?
Yes,
Is that the idea?
correct. Yeah, so the dungeons are like linear sessions or whatever you want to call them, right? They're things that you go in to explore, you finish, then you're back into the town. One of my gripes with that is that you can only explore the town once every day. So you do have to pick and choose, right? And there are some times where you'll get gear in the world and the gear's like, oh, it needs to have X amount of amusement or whatever it might be, right? And there's some characters in this game that I have not actually met yet. I'm 28 days in, or whatever it might be, 25 days, and I've not met every single character yet because I'm choosing to go with these other characters because they give me better perks, or I need to get my amusement up, or like whatever it might be. So I do wish that you maybe had the option, and it also means that like you can't, you only get one chance every day to upgrade your gear. I know that's a little bit of a whiny excuse, but criticism. But if you woke up in the morning, you're like, you know what, fuck it, like I'm gonna go buy a sword or whatever before I go here, or whatever it may be, right? But instead you're just kind of out in the world. And then, yeah, I kind of wish it gave you the option to like stay in Hinterberg for the day. Like, and be like, you know what, I'm just going to stay in Hinterberg for the day, do some shopping and grab a coffee or whatever it might be, right? And then you can spend time with that person during the day, and then you can spend that time with another person at night, right? And you're kind of getting a bit more time to do it. That's the only thing I would... it was a little bit disappointing. I can also see how... So I think they said it's about 20-ish hours, maybe a little bit more for this game. I can see it getting a little bit repetitive, because there is 25 dungeons, right? And yes, but there are differences in, and it does try to throw new shit in there. Like there are, like I'm in the later stages of all the different biomes, right? But there's now different, like, you know, there's the different perceptions, or however you want to frame it. Like things are going like isometric a bit. There's things that are more like the hoverboard heavy. There's things that you have these other puzzles where you got to move stuff, and like there are differences in they're not all the same, but the combat is relatively the same, right? Like when you get into but I do feel like the combat's well paced out. I never felt like, it wasn't like in Banishes, you know, when you kind of go from one zone, then in another like 30 seconds, you're already in like another fight, right? It does kind of give you a good amount of time of puzzle solving before you are, and not every fight is like a bunch of, like, it's like a huge wave of enemies. There might be like 3 or 4 enemies in one thing, and it takes you like 15 seconds to kind of get through it, and you're on your way again.
Yeah, nice.
There's probably heaps I've not talked about. I haven't even written my review yet, so
can I flick one more question your way, just from something that you asked, or that you said rather? You said that you were 28 days in. Is there a baked in, like, you have to go back to your law firm after a month or whatever, or you can just keep playing in?
No, so that's what I said earlier. It's like, actually, so I was speaking to the dev last night, because actually I was stuck in this puzzle, and I was like, fuck, I gotta get this review done. Like, and it was funny. Like, right when he sent me a screenshot, I rotated this part of the world, and I was like, wait a minute, I now see it. So it was like, as soon as I looked like an absolute clown. And then I replied, wait, don't reply. Like, let me try something. But yeah, I actually asked him, like, is there a set time, you know, do we have 30 days in Hinterberg and then we're back? But no, he said there's no time limit. So
cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And you can, I am being a bit mean, because you can actually, in these biomes, there are actually spots in the world that you can go to and sit and not do a dungeon and boost stuff like, so you go to like the snowy one, I think, for example, and it's like you want to sit on this top ridge where there's like a good viewing spot, and it's like, oh, I could spend the day here. The cold air would do well for my health, would give me a health point or whatever it might be, and it'll increase my relaxation. So there are things there, but it's that, you also have these relationships you've got to manage because they've got perks and stuff that you want to get from them. Yeah, I reckon I'm going to go with a 9.
Nice.
I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the combat I think the animations are amazing. I think the soundtrack is phenomenal. It's very, very, it's minimal, but not, if that makes, and that'll make, it's simple. Sorry, is probably the better word, not minimal.
Sure.
Like there's a part where I got to the second biome and the soundtrack started, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm really I'm invested in this world because I want to go off and slay monsters. I want to be that person that took that risk. Yeah. No, I really.
That premise is a banger. I think that's such a cool setup for a game.
The twist, if you want to call it the twist, although it is a little bit not predictable, but it's like it's fine. Like it's fine. Like it's not. It didn't surprise me. Like like it's still fine.
Sure.
Yeah, but I think the art style is just incredible. And I think the combat is really tight. I think it's a really tight combat kind of game. Like it feels nice to play. Yeah, and I played on Xbox, so I had 0 bug issues, no crashes.
Is it coming to other consoles?
I would say it'll come to PlayStation at some point, but not at the moment.
Just launching on Xbox.
That's only my guess, by the way. But it's PC.
Did Microsoft put in for that? Is that why that's happened that way, or
it's day one Game Pass?
Right.
So I don't know if that's like the deal is like.
Yeah, it's just weird to. If you're a third party, I don't know why you'd sign up for Xbox exclusivity at this point. But just from like a audience saturation point of view, but I mean,
eyeballs,
whatever.
It's also worth noting there's a fair bit of talking in this game, dialogue. Well, not a fair bit, but there's a decent amount, right? But it's all text.
Okay, so
I was a little surprised by that, honestly, because the presentation was it's quite tight.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you're like, oh, this will have voice acting, and it just doesn't.
I kind of get. Right. I do get why, because this is a team of 6 people that made this game.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, so I can, and looking at the game, you assume they've put probably a lot of resources into other areas. And I don't think initially I was a bit bummed it doesn't have any voice acting, but yeah, I mean I think the writing's pretty good. No real problems. Yeah, and there are certain parts in conversations where you actually get to choose responses. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
James, you keen to play more?
No. What I played of it, I kind of like by the end of that first dungeon, I was already a bit over the combat. And granted, I didn't have any of the magic abilities by that point. But it's simple. It looks incredible to do the sword attacks, but the feel of it, I found a bit just floaty and a bit light.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe the animations do a lot of heavy lifting with it. I think because it's such a visual experience, you kind of miss some of that, not jank, but less polished. Not polished, but you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's not even polished. I just didn't think there was much of an impact to hits. And in a game about hacking and slashing, that's an interesting flaw to have. But the premise alone makes me want to see what it has to say about that premise. If it's nothing, that's totally fine as well. I just think it'd be a wasted opportunity.
We'll have a conversation later.
Okay.
Yeah. Not to spoil anyone's thing. Anyway, I've gone on too long. No. You've got a big game to talk about. One we're very, very excited for.
Don't we just? Conscript. So I'm gonna steal a bit from both of your reviews, actually, in that I haven't written the review yet, so thoughts are still a bit scatterbrained, and I also have very little World War history knowledge. So let's premise that.
Bridging the gap. Look at you go.
Yeah, exactly right. So Conscript, we've obviously been covering for a little while now. It's been a bit of a darling for the site. This is from Catchweight Studio, which is Jordan Moki. Add an extra M there for no reason. But Moki, yes. Mocky. Close enough. Sorry, Jordan.
You taking the Mocky, mate?
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, this is essentially just one developer. I think the only other assistance was the score. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
The soundtrack. Yep.
I think he did say that there's some animation.
Oh, okay.
Well, he said
so. Yeah,
he said something.
A couple of models might have been outsourced.
Gotcha. Yeah. Which
anyway, but like 95% of it is.
Yeah, which is a huge effort. This is a like retro Resident Evil inspired World War I story about a French soldier who is on the front lines of a horrible battle and needs to go and find his brother. And so it's like a escalating series of events as you get to a space and then your brother was just here but he's gone to another castle now. Like it's that kind of story structure.
It's
right?
the Battle of Verdun, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
That sounds right. Yeah. It is a Resident Evil game. Jordan has not been particularly shy about the influences going into this. Like it's on the game's official description. It's been all we've talked about, I think, when I've spoken to him about this game. And given that Resident Evil itself has moved so far afield from what made that first Resident Evil loop so tight and enjoyable, to see somebody come in almost solely recreate it inside of a whole new setting that makes it feel new and exciting is like a minor miracle to me. This is like an exceptionally fun, incredibly dense game though. It is grim, it's dark. Obviously that World War setting, you kind of, and I talked about this in my preview, there's maybe an impulse to heighten things or to make things a bit more fantastical if you're working within the horror genre, especially Resident Evil inspired, right? Which is a game series about escalating monster designs. How do you do that in a World War setting while also feeling like you're kind of respecting the fact that you're in a World War setting? And he pulls it off, right? Like this is a game where, you just have like, heavier and heavier armored dudes kind of coming for you over the course of the game. But it all feels relatively respectful to history. The somber tone of this thing is established from the jump and never lets up. So it makes it quite a dark game to play through at times, honestly. But if you're familiar with that Resident Evil loop, like you're going to be pretty comfortable here. You've got sort of like a layer cake of limited exploration levels to go through. Doors that have a helmet key it requires. You found lighter fluid, but you haven't found the lighter yet. I wonder what's going to happen there. I can't get through the gas. Oh, I found a gas mask. Now the whole other half of the map is open up to me, right? It's the Spencer Mansion in the trenches, basically, right down to the map design and everything. And so if that floats your boat, I think this game is going to be fucking right up your alley. It is a really, really good time if that's what you're looking for from it. There are like a couple of like smaller pain points, nothing that really like derails the entire experience. Combat itself is really, really good. So combat has obviously been made to be quite deliberate. If you think about sort of the weapons that were available at the time, there's no real automatic firearms going on here. And so there's a lot of, slow manual reloading. If you need to hit someone with something, it's a very slow, long wind up before a solid crunch hits the enemy soldier. That feels fantastic. And then occasionally to punctuate chapters, the game will throw in these kind of like siege moments where you have to fight waves of dudes coming into the trenches. And it doesn't fall apart, but it's not as fun in those situations. Like when you make combat this deliberate and this tense and this impactful, and then you say, now kill 20 dudes in a row, it loses a bit of the charm that it initially has, and it exposes a bit more of the, hey, this is a little jank to kind of run in a circle and then wind up again, hit, run in another circle and go again, right? So that was a bit of a frustration. There were also the Dishonored idea of if you don't dispose of bodies correctly, rats will start coming into the trenches, basically. And these little fuckers are so annoying. I really wish they weren't in the game. But they spawn in quite large sort of little, rodent families. And then if they bite you, they can inflict like a poison, which halves your health, basically. The problem being that hitting them is really difficult, and they can bite you as soon as you like enter into the out of the loading screen into a trench, basically. Right. So it feels a little unfair and a little not really aligned with the mechanical intentions of the game, even if thematically and tonally, I love it. Like it's really cool to see the fact that like if you don't burn the bodies instead of crimson heads, now you get roving rats because it's fucking bodies decaying in mud. Like it's disgusting. It's foul. There is a sort of riff on the Resident Evil 4 item shop. There is a merchant that is just inexplicably in sort of a bunch of different locations. You know, he's always very jovial. He's got his little blue lantern. It's wonderful. You use cigarettes to buy a lot of these things. I think the economy there is a little tuned too much in favor of the game and not the player, just because the amount of cigarettes that you find out in the world versus the cost of some of the items you need to buy later on gets a little tight. And I think that broadly the game is tight. It is going to challenge you a bit. It really pushes your resource management. You know, you've got those limited inventory slots, very classic Resident Evil in that sense as well. So that can be frustrating, but also in a way that feels quite intentional to me. So I see the vision for this. It's just personally, you know, maybe not tuned exactly the way that I would like. But it is also just as a holistic vibe piece about World War One with this, you know, great pixel art style, very dark environments, dense, disgusting. It's great. It operates as sold on the box as a Resident Evil, just set in World War One.
It's also top down, correct? Right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It's not old school Resident Evil. Yeah. Not fixed camera remake Resident Evil, like old school Resident Evil. But yeah.
Nice.
I have one very quick question,
Go for it.
and it's dependent on if you have hit credits yet or not. How long of an experience, roughly? Are you well, like, you're probably far through enough where you can kind of get an idea as to how long.
I would say so. I think that, you know, on that talk through, it came up about what 10 to 15 hours was kind of the rough estimate. I would say that is what's what I'm looking for. It's dependent on skill, obviously, to a certain degree. But you know, so there's 6 chapters. I think I spent an hour in the first chapter and then 4 hours in the second chapter. Like you can really spend some time here if you get a bit lost, which because of the pixel art and because of how dark things are, it is occasionally easy to be like, oh, there's a door there that I just completely kept running past every time. Even if you do have the map, you get so used to that environment that you've seen it so many times that you're like, I must have been in there already. You haven't, and suddenly it has a key item that you've been missing, kind of thing. So it can run on, I think, and it is that combat loop, that kind of tight resource grind. Dense is the word I keep coming back to. Like there are times when I sit down to play this game and I just go, whew. I just don't know if I have this in me right now, and that's a really fucking cool feeling though. Like for a horror game, that's great.
Yeah, like I think exhaustion should be part of this experience.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That sounds bang on. Funny question: does this have its nod to the Resident Evil like underground lab level that's in like every one of those games?
Not that I've discovered yet. I'm pretty close to, I think, where this is all wrapping up. But I don't think it's going to veer. I'd be shocked if it did sort of introduce another thing like that. It's very heavy on having the same environments gone over and over again. So sort of like you can roughly see everything you're going to see from the jump, but then it just keeps adding more based on, you know, obviously key items that you find and whatnot. The chapters are punctuated by I guess like flashback dream sequences, which I think are relatively good in terms of the emotional tone it's trying to convey, even if I think that the framing device is a little bit. Yeah, I've kind of seen this before. You know, you wake up and it's a sunny day and you're back at home and it's like, yeah, I get it. But I do like the story that it's telling about this little family in the woods. So
nice.
Yeah,
good stuff. All right. So do we have what are you thinking number wise?
I'm still chewing on that. I wouldn't be surprised if I came in at a 9 though.
Nice to hear. Yeah.
Nice.
I think he's done I mean, we said this in our talk through, but I think he's done a fantastic job as a solo developer who had no knowledge prior of game dev and just was like, fuck it, I'm going to make a Resident Evil clone. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but using his degree in history. So
that's exactly what I was about to say. The sheer admiration and brazenness of taking your history undergrad and doing this. Woohoo!
Yeah, and the Resident Evilness it's beyond just structural. It's obviously the vibe of it. Some of the music comes in as a very Resident Evil nod. You know, like you'll have enemies pouring in, and you'll get that kind of like like Resident Evil, fucking, breathy fucking shit going on. All that's really good. There's obviously save room music as well. That every time that kicks in, you feel like you're back in that whole thing. So
I love that this is a game that tries to speak to directly to a type of gamer. It's not trying to be broadly accepted by, do you vaguely like horror games? You'll love this. It's very specific. And I always love games that speak to a core audience like that. That's really cool.
Because there's even the and we mentioned this on Talk Through, but when you hit like play, there's even that like thud or not thuds.
Oh yeah, that like it's really good. It's just short of going conscript.
Well, we said that.
We said that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very good. Yeah, I'm very, very keen. I do have a code, but we know what happened there, James, didn't we?
We do. We do know what happened there.
We do.
Yep.
Haven't had a chance to get. It's not a story for the podcast, I can tell you that much.
Cheers, boys.
I'll tell you after. It's not like that exciting, but yeah. Cool. Right. 9 out of 10. Love that. A couple of 9s and turn those 9s upside down, a couple of 6s. So
that's right.
There you go. Well, we have one shout out. No, we don't have a shout out yet. We do.
Do we have a shout out?
We do. I've got one, but it's an unedited shout out. So
Raw dog shout out.
This is raw dog as they come. So Big Marky Mark, he is reviewed. Fuck, what's the game called again? Bow Path of the Teal Lotus. This game has a really rad art style too. Very teal.
Yes, it does.
He says 2024's incredible lineup of indie titles continues to grow, and Bow Path of the Teal Lotus deserves to be right near the top. It's a picture perfect Metroidvania, impeccably designed and gorgeous in motion. Do not miss this. 9.5.
Holy shit.
To be fair, that art style is pretty great.
I was going to say, I'm looking at it now, and you can buy food off like an anthropomorphic bit of Naruto, which is fucking wonderful. Like this, it's a cool looking game.
Yeah. Very good. Very good there, Mark. All right, what's next on the agenda in the news?
The news is the next thing on the agenda. Very exciting.
Jimmy Jams.
Yeah, I haven't talked enough, obviously. We've got to get my voice back out there again. The people are craving it, just like the people are craving to pay more for Xbox Game Pass. This is obviously a really smart move on a company's behalf who is just continuing to make smart moves. Xbox Game Pass has been sort of fundamentally restructured and repriced with day one access fucking flipping all over the place. I kind of have to read this directly because it is a little easy to get lost in the source on the breakdown of these new thingamabobs. So Xbox Game Pass for console is being cut off at the knees. If you're already existing subscriber, you're good, but new subscribers can't touch it anymore. So now it's being replaced by Xbox Game Pass Standard, which is the back catalog of Game Pass content and the Xbox Live multiplayer, but no day one access and no cloud gaming. So this is coming in at $15 a month US, so probably what, 22-ish maybe for us?
Yeah,
21?
It comes September-ish, I think. September sometime. Yeah,
but this is just standard. So keep standard in mind. That word's going to become important. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is getting a price increase to $22.95 a month, up from $19 a month, basically. So a couple of dollars getting added on there. PC Game Pass is increasing to $13.95 a month, up from $10.95 a month. And then my new favorite name, Xbox Game Pass Core, which is different from Standard, but also a synonym of Standard, basically, is getting an annual price increase to $89.95 a year, which is up from $79.95 a year. And you can no longer stack Game Pass subscriptions. So they've just kind of splintered a lot of shit here.
What is Core?
Sorry?
When I wrote that piece, I don't think I even included Core, did I?
Well, no, because I think Core is just the whole package, but that's a very good point, actually. See, this is why.
Exactly. I think this is why.
Have access to online.
No, Core isn't Core. No, Core's the one that is your 25 games, I think. Correct. Core's with that little piss hand offering.
The core games. Yeah. So no day one on that. And remember, core and standard are different services. But you
Yeah,
don't want
so
standard either, because then you don't get Call of Duty day one, and that's what all of this comes back to.
yeah, and there was
So
Ash sent me a screenshot when I was doing this, or maybe just after I'd done it, and it was a thing from something. And what I mean by that, it was like some piece of documentation from the court cases at some point, right? And it had like, I don't remember the exact wording, but it was like, will not increase prices. And again, like I'm paraphrasing like what it says, but that was what it implied. Basically, was that you know, there are no plans to increase prices for Game Pass.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing as they would have said, like, "Oh, we have no plans to close any studios,"
and
then it's like, "Oh, but the numbers."
Yeah,
I don't think that the increase is so obvious to anyone who has been keeping an eye on Xbox / Microsoft in any capacity. Like, you see these billions of dollars worth of acquisitions, these massive games being added that are day one available for every Game Pass member. Like, it was inevitable. Like, as a business, they couldn't afford to not do that. I just wish they didn't throw out those sort of bold claims of, no, we're not raising the price of it. You'll always have access to day one games. Like, just obviously, this is not it's not a decision that's made overnight. Phil Spencer, he probably isn't the one making decisions, but it's not like he woke up in a cold sweat at 2 a.m. and he's like, he would, yeah. It's not like he woke up in a cold sweat at 2 a.m. and he's like, oh, I've got to raise the price of Game Pass. These things take time. So don't blow smoke up your audience's ass. For the people who maybe aren't as locked in as we are to the comings and goings of the video game world, like, to your general consumer, if you see day one this, you know, Call of Duty or Diablo 4 or whatever it is, and then you hear, you know, you'll always have this, it's this great product, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, sorry, by the way, we're not doing that anymore. Like, that's it's dishonest.
That's gonna be like coming to Game Pass day one. Ultimate.
Like, do they have to now put that caveat
Correct.
onto every trailer? Yeah.
Well,
Day one with an asterisk, like, that won't look the same, will
exactly. Yeah. And people gave Sony a lot of shit for its tiering of the PlayStation Plus subscriptions, which they should. That thing's a fucking mess as well, and way overpriced.
Absolutely.
And it's just weird to see Xbox. I mean, they're very good at shooting themselves in the foot at this point, but like, they have no feet left. Like, and they've still managed to do it again. Like, you know, you've watched Sony get lambasted for this, and then you say, I'll have some of that as well. I'm not unpopular enough this year. Like, I don't know,
I just like that Sony they just like, yeah, fuck it. Like, we're not going, you're not getting them day one. Like, deal with it.
Give us $160 a year. Thanks.
And buy the game. So.
Yeah.
I'm hating subscription services more and more as time goes on.
Oh, it's
like, the
awful,
shit is really wearing thin on me in all aspects of entertainment, whether it's music, movies, everything. It devalues your entertainment form. Like, I've agreed with you from day dot, Zach, on this, but it's becoming more and more obvious to me that that's the case. Like, you sit there for half an hour flicking through Netflix, and you don't end up watching anything because nothing has value, and it's becoming the same for games. But do we think this
out of it a bit?
It absolutely does.
Like, you don't 100% go. I mean, does. Not that there's video stores and stuff anymore to go to and, like, you know, do that, you know, rent videos, but oh yeah, just flick through Game Pass. Like,
exactly.
Heard good things about that. Always meant to get to that one. Next month maybe.
There's so much on offer that there ends up being nothing to play. It's fucking wild. But for the general consumer, do we see this having any actual effect though? Because the other side of it is that you still will be able to play Call of Duty for $25.
So I am curious for a couple of reasons. I wonder if Phil, and just speculating at who was given the ultimatum, but I think at somewhere down the pipeline, it's like, you've either people have got to buy Call of Duty, or you've got to do something with Game Pass to make people pay more, or whatever to that effect is, right? And this is probably what they've come up with. But for a service that is stagnated, has not grown. And now they're making basically everyone who wants to keep playing day one games more. Unless you're already on the console. But I don't know if that's being... Is that a current thing? Like, sorry, not current, ongoing? Like, because I couldn't get that information. I couldn't understand whether it got... Is it saying that in September, Xbox Game Pass for console will be like... Or is it
So
just simply...
if you're already sitting on the service on that tier, you can keep it. I don't know if that means I don't think that means you'll completely dodge any sort of price hike at all. But for new subscribers, that will no longer be an option.
Yeah, but if you stop yours, like if you go fuck it, like I had I don't know, fucking wallet got stolen and my money got stolen, and you go, I can't
like
afford
if you're reactivating your subscription,
or if you have to stop it at some point.
like if you're a lapsed subscriber and you come back to the subscription. Yeah, I don't know.
I imagine once you're out, you're out. I can't
I'd say so.
them giving people grace for this.
No pass outs, I would say.
Yeah. And Adam, to your point about general audiences as well, I wonder what happens when, a mum and dad out there who's paying this every month on direct debit and not really thinking about it because their kid has an Xbox, right? And then suddenly their kid tries to play Call of Duty, can't do it. Then they have to go and investigate what happened. I thought we got games through Game Pass. It's a weird fucking choice.
Yeah.
Buddy made a very good tweet. Did you see Buddy's tweet about imagine if Netflix put out a statement saying you can no longer get Netflix originals on standard Netflix?
Right,
you have to.
That's not out of the realm of possibility. Netflix is heading in that direction anyway.
Mate, that's already...
All of these subscription services are. This is a bubble that is wanting to burst so badly.
Yeah. So they put ads on Prime now?
Yeah. We talked about that last week. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, man. I still haven't come back from that.
I mean, I think... Whatever. I haven't done it, but I don't think it's $2, whatever. Because Prime was already...
It's like everything is $2. I got an email from Telstra today that it's now every recharge a month is now $4 more. And it's like everything is now $4 more. And so when you've got 10 of those things to worry about, that's another $40 now that is leaving your pocket. And it's just, it adds up.
Because didn't Disney announce they lost a shit ton of money on Disney Plus?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
They're charging out the arse for that thing now.
Could we get a fact check on that? I'll fact check that. Anyway,
well, you brought it up, so it's probably on you. I fact checked my pizza Nazi earlier, so
that's true. That's true.
Yeah. 8th of April. So this is Disney $11 billion streaming losses. Now there's one. Disney just became profitable for the first time. This is from May though. Okay, I don't know how old that piece of news is.
Information.
Anyway,
what does that even mean?
Yeah, rough. Zach, do you want to walk us through the PAX Australia 2024 Indie Showcase winners? I feel like Australian games are much more up your alley than mine right now. So
I would love to.
I'll bet you would.
Got to be honest with you, I've only heard of two of these games, so
that's 2 more than me.
2 more than you. We've got Max Mustard from Toast Interactive, and this is a game that combines the best first-person power-ups with the timeless charm of classic third-person platforming. Players will venture through immersive landscapes, facing tough challenges, unexpected twists, and moral dilemmas, forcing you to make difficult decisions that will shape the course of your journey. That sounds like a motherfucking video game if I've ever heard one, if you know what I'm saying. Then you got Yeah.
Undead?
Is that a typo or is that like...
I mean, if it is, it's not from us. So it's
right,
fine.
Okay. You've got Unthid, which is from True Anomaly Entertainment, and this finds players stranded in a deep space with a mission to survive against all odds. All right, I mean, straight to the point. Then we've got Anti-Citizen Red Queebly Software, which uses bullet time. Uses bullet time, a variety of movement mechanics, and an improvised arsenal to outwit and outgun biker gangs and corporate police in an American-occupied cyberpunk Australia. Actually sounds
That's not a bad premise. I could get on board.
Is that not? No. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Ascending Inferno from Opoleon Studios, not for the faint of heart or rage quitters, as it will challenge players to master the art of precision platforming as they dribble, speaking of, header, juggle, and kick their way through various layers of Inferno to save their sibling Vincent, a recently deceased soccer player. Then you got Rita from Spork Tank, a charming world-based puzzle adventure where crossword puzzles and cozy RPG worlds collide. And last one is the Rewinder, which is an action-adventure game inspired by Eastern mythology, allowing players to explore cursed villages and dungeons, solve crimes, unlock new skills, and meet all sorts of ghosts and monsters along the way. Shout out.
I also have not heard of any of these, but...
Get the fuck out of here with your digital games. It's time for board games.
Yeah, I think I've heard one of them.
Go for it, Adam. Tell us about the board game winners.
Tabletop winners, because they sound like there could be some actual winners in here. Fight with Spirit is so far not in my wheelhouse that it's not funny. It is a sports drama RPG. I'm sure there are sickos out there that will love this. It is not for me.
If you put it in front of me, I wouldn't say no.
Of course you wouldn't. You are a bit of a sicko, aren't you? Look at you. There is Oracle, which is definitely more my speed. It's a thrilling blend of deduction and betrayal. In this card game, each player is given a secret role card with an objective of eliminating specific players on it. So that's kind of like it takes werewolf and then throws a bit of like the Nemesis secret objective style in there. Fucking love that. Love that to pieces. It also takes 15 to 30 minutes. Sign me the fuck up. Sounds fantastic. Glade is a cozy, James, tabletop game that tasks players with creating a mystic garden around their homestead that outscores their opponents. We've seen plenty of games like this before. It will most likely be very similar to something that is similar to this. Frayed Ally is the one that takes the cake for me, though. This game looks very, very cool. It invites players into an untamed streets of Sewer City, where the echo of clashing weapons and the stench of burning magic fills the alleyway. What that relates to is like a card-based battler, which is, I think, between 2 to 5 players. Very cool little art style. I'll be checking that one out. Nimbus, an abstract, high-strategy, dynamic board game where the goal is to eliminate your opponent's Nimbus piece. This looks like a game that has been played for centuries. It's got like a diamond-shaped or a pentagon-shaped board. Lots of lines, lots of little pieces. It looks like Go, if you've not heard of it.
Is it like Battleship?
No, it's kind of Go in the worst possible way. I mean,
yeah,
I
think
very abstract, very just a board, some dice. That's it.
Yeah,
like, there is no art, nothing.
It's like what your nan would say when you tell her about board games, and she says, "Back in my day." It would be
out the mandala.
The Nimbus.
Got any backgammon at PAX?
I mean,
see,
example.
You would be a backgammon guy. And then Mean, a fast-paced card game filled with fun, strategy, and sabotage. It's a nice little junk food one to get your game night started. But the standouts for me would be Frayed Ally and Oracle for sure, both of which sound very good.
I'm not fucking around when I say that the standout for me is that Fight with Spirit sports drama RPG. I don't know. I think it's just an interesting pitch, and I want to explore it.
Can I be a bit of an asshole?
Please.
It's never stopped you before.
I thought you were going to say yes. But anyone else surprised by these games?
And in what manner? Sorry?
So look, let me start by saying congrats to everyone who's been nominated, been awarded.
And now I'm going to trash your victory.
Yeah, I'm strapping in here.
No, I'm just shocked a little bit. There's no names that none of us have heard of, really, apart from that first one for me. Like, usually there's at least 2, 3, maybe 4 of these games that we've come across at some point.
I see what you mean now. Yeah, this is right. Complete unknown territory.
Based on looking at at the calendar we've got on the website, there's a lot of games coming out next year, and I had none of these in that list, right? And there's anyway, not to take away from their win. Congrats! I look forward to checking them out at where are we going? PAX. Looking for checking them out at PAX.
Obviously, there's something to be seen here. I mean, they were chosen for a reason. I mean, like, and whoever is deciding on these choices have picked bangers in the past. So
Well, Anti-Citizen sounds a little bit familiar, so maybe that's the other one I have seen. But I mean, I'm keen to check them out.
I think maybe I'm on the other side of the fence with that, where I'm glad that I haven't heard of any of these, and I'm kind of keen to see new stuff, because when you go to a few PAXs back to back, I mean, obviously games take a very long time to create. You start seeing the same thing each year, and they kind of a little bit of progress has been made. So I think it's cool to see some relative unknowns. So hopefully they will blow us away in motion.
I'm going to make you play them all now.
Fuck.
That's the plan, right? I was personally surprised to not see Dark Web Streamer on here. It just feels like it's always here in these kind of lists,
Perpetually stuck in the PAX.
Yeah, exactly.
Combat Wombat, mate.
No. Sorry.
I want to give a shout out to whoever wrote the copy for the Frayed Ally description, because the Stench of Burning Magic is a great series of words. Well
Absolutely. Done.
Yeah. I guess speaking of jobs well done, Aboriginal studio Guk announces the 2024 game at Blacktasia. This is going to be a mobile game that uses First Nations people's art and culture in a kind of like free-to-play sort of like thing where you fight something called the Merc to restore Australia's bushland through a series of mini games. This sort of came out of nowhere. This is a studio that is fascinating on Twitter in the best way possible. So yeah, like good for them. Really cool to see a distinctly Australian game that's not just white Australia.
Well, this is all Aboriginal led. This is an Aboriginal led development studio, and I think this is what, because they've had this project in the works for a while. I don't know if it's been reshaped at certain points. But yeah, I think this is what's coming out of it. Yeah, which is cool. It's good to see it finally have something, because when we saw it, well, when I saw it last time, it was a concept, basically, which I think is why that concept has shifted a little bit. But maybe it was just evolving the whole time. But yeah, great to see it come out, and great to see devs from this background, I guess, if you want to, or Aboriginal-led background. Yeah, really cool.
Agreed. Yeah. And lastly, Nintendo is teasing some sort of new horror IP. Hashtag Who is Emio? They've released a very short teaser trailer for this thing. It features a man in like a trench coat with a paper bag over his head, and sometimes it's smiling and other times it's looking all weird and sad. Australian Rating Board gave it an MA15 plus with suicide and domestic abuse warnings attached to it, which is a big swing for Nintendo if they're making this in-house. There is obviously talks of Bloober has been working with Nintendo on something, so potentially that, though IGN is claiming that they've spoken to insiders who've said, no, Emio is a different thing from the Bloober project, which is best possible outcome. I mean, there's nothing really to report on here yet, other than the fact that like Nintendo using mainline channels to promote an MA15 plus rated horror game is strange. It's very cool.
Have they done real games before?
Not really.
Mad World. Platinum game.
Oh shit, Mad
Holy
World.
shit,
Yeah.
I forgot about Mad World.
That was a good time, I think. I don't know.
It was an interesting time.
Yeah, it was all right.
I was too young to have developed my my brain yet. So
Bro, you would have been like
fun.
I think I was like 16.
Surely not. Came out like
it was the
2008, 2009.
Yeah, so I was like, oh yeah, okay, like 19. That was dumb. Yeah. Hadn't written any game reviews yet. Hadn't developed the old sharp tongue that you're used to.
Hard to believe James was ever a late bloomer.
Oh, I mean, that's a whole other podcast. Yeah.
Nice. That's the news. Unless I've got any other little secret.
Do you have any surprises you want to drop in
Nah,
there? It's all on you.
Nah, I don't actually. I don't.
Great.
Every week, it's like when you go into files and you click on the show hidden objects,
Yeah.
and like the doc just doubles in size for all of Zach's random shit.
Though I do have one
one
news
last thing.
bit
There
to
it
talk.
is.
No. I'm just looking at the website. I just want to just talk about it very, very, very quickly. But how do we feel about Suicide Squad being given away as a freebie on is it Prime Gaming, isn't it? Or something like that, or whatever.
Prime, yeah.
How's it feel, Adam?
I don't give a fuck. I never want to talk about this game ever again. I
Is that this
actively.
year?
It was February.
Yep. A friend of mine sent me a message and was like, "Oh, Suicide Squad's free." I was like, "It's still the price is too high. Don't do it." Like actively, I want to ensure that people don't play that game.
Doesn't this all smell a bit like the Avengers? But even still, I remember saying like the Avengers, the moment to moment gameplay was satisfying enough. Wouldn't keep you around for a long time, but
the Avengers also had a story that was worth sticking around for. Like the writing for that game was surprisingly good, whereas Suicide Squad is borderline offensive.
Is it also
You're not keen to see what happens to the Joker?
I don't give a fuck. I hate him. Ugh.
The fuck Joker?
Truly awful.
Yeah.
All right. Off topics. Good job, James. Off topics. All right. Anyone got anything they want to talk about? Film, TV, books, music? Anybody? All right. I'll go. No one's putting their hands up, so I'll go first. Very, very quickly, I watched our good friend, big fan of the podcast, Sydney Sweeney. I watched her and Glenn.
Twisters.
Pow. Oh, fuck. I see Twisters, man. I'm so keen.
Anyone but you.
Wait.
Anyone but you.
Oh, right. Of course, Sydney Sweeney's not in that movie. Never mind. Sorry, my brain's cooked.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. You know what? So this was Sunday night, and I was hungover at a big Saturday, and I was like, you know what? I just want something light that that you can fall asleep in, and I don't get cranky and then have to turn it off because you've fallen asleep. And yeah, it was good fun. It was a bit more hardcore is the wrong term, but like you see dicks in that film, mate. Like,
oh really?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
I thought it was a very agreeable popcorn flick, but dicks, I won't have that.
It's
No.
Dicks in my popcorn. You'd be surprised.
it's I think it was decent. I give it a 6 because it was fun enough. Like it did its job. Anybody think that Glenn Powell looks a bit like Brad Pitt? Or was that just me? I said
what a compliment. I'm sure he's very delighted to hear you say that.
And I was like, no chance. I was like, okay.
I find that they have a similar screen presence in that
like an archetype.
Don't want to look away. Like they're very enjoyable to watch. They just got a pizzazz about them.
Going to see Longlegs tomorrow.
Legless? Fuck no. Yeah.
I'm
going to sing it this week as well. Very excited.
Cool.
I will get there in the next week or so, I think.
And I do want to see Twisters as well. How fucking wild are they making another Twisters film? That is.
I never saw Twister. Should I watch it? I hear only the best things.
I'd say
you
maybe
realize there's like a whole Twisters universe.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah,
books and shit.
So didn't they do like a TV series and stuff as well?
Don't know.
Like I feel like there was more to Twisters than just that first film. But I'm trying to.
I like the girl in that new Twisters movie. She's a very good actress, and she seems pretty.
Can't remember who.
I was gonna say she seems cool, but then I was like, I don't actually know her, so I pivoted to pretty, which doesn't help.
And presumed innocent.
There's also Twisters 2.
Up to yeah, right. Up to episode 6. That's getting really good. I'm really, really enjoying that show. And that's me. Adam.
Very good.
Well, now you want to hear from me, do you? What if it's too late? What if
I thought I caught your arm up there, like right as I decided that I'd go first.
Of course you did. I watched A Quiet Place too because I hadn't watched that yet. It's the least good one out of the three, but
interesting.
I still enjoyed it. I still had a good time.
Yeah, it's not a bad film.
Wait, hang on. You've seen the third one? Oh yeah, of course you have. Sorry.
We did.
Yeah,
we do a well
yeah.
played VHS
Yeah.
podcast
Okay,
occasionally.
okay,
We talk
okay.
about movies.
You might have heard of it.
Actually, hold on. This will be good. We do a podcast about movies. But yeah, I watched A Quiet Place 2 with Key, and it's good. It's still in that world. I think that world is very cool. I like the Death Angels. They're creepy, but it makes me hate kids even more than I already do. And it reminded me how dumb of a decision it was to have a child in that particular kind of apocalypse from the first film. It really is just a really baffling decision. Newest episode of One Piece is fucking an absolute banger. I can say that. We can go episode to episode now.
Nice.
How good.
Keen to hear what next week's is like, bro.
Oh, mate. It's an exciting time to be alive. But yeah, I think that's me. Oh, and I have finished all of the seasons of What We Do in the Shadows, so I'm now up to date for that as well. That show is fucking delightful. It's so
easy
dumb
to watch.
It really is. I think I watched like 5 in a row, and I barely knew it had happened because it's just it's a very good time. I like that show a lot.
Amen. Me too.
Nice.
That's me.
Who's next? Nathan?
I feel like I got the most waffle to contribute.
Just what we need.
Do you want to go, James?
Go for it. Get it off your chest.
Okay, so I got 3 things. It's my only contribution to this podcast, I think. I don't know what happened, but I started listening. Oh yeah, Buddy sent me a message about Charlie XCX's new album, Brat. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll give it a listen. I think since it's come out, I've probably given it like maybe close to 100 listens now. Like that motherfucker's on repeat constant, and it's so good. The extended edition, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, really. I've got no notes. It is fantastic, and that just got me like the algorithms now changing, so I'm getting like thrown onto all other kinds of shit like Kale and Polachek and stuff. And
you are in for a time.
I really am just having a fantastic time. And then moving aside from that, extending on to last week's, we talked about The Lobster from Yorgos Lanthimos, and it's kind of a weird film, so I stayed on that train. Just before this podcast, I'd gone and seen his latest film in theatres, Kinds of Kindness, starring Margaret Qualley, Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe. It's like a three-hour film of like 3 like anthology films side by side, with the same cast between them. It was very dark and grim, and like a lot of fucked up subject matter. Like all the stories are about like a kind of like a very manipulative or abusive relationships. It's kind of like the through theme of each of them. But I think whilst I've enjoyed it, what I enjoyed more was before I watched that, I watched one of his older films, one of his Greek language films from 2011 called Dogtooth. And that's a film that's fantastic to try and describe. So I'll quite quickly try and describe this one because I'm assuming that you folks have no idea what Dogtooth is. So Dogtooth, I think it was his first Cannes film winner, is very small budget film set on a compound. So there's this fella, he's got his family, he's kind of like shielded him off from the outside world. His wife's the only one that's ever had exposure. She was a handball champion, but basically he's created this reclusive life, almost cult-like, where he's teaching his children and basically given them this lore about the outside world being dangerous and polluted and stuff like that. But each day he gets to go to work and live his life. And his children are now like adults virtually. So he manages to like pay off one of the chicks at work to have sex with his son on the regular just to keep that maintained, and figuring out what to do with his daughters as they're starting to get old and a bit weird in the head because they have no idea what's going on. And there's a lot of weird little details that are a lot of fun. Like whenever a plane goes over their head, they've got no frame of reference. Like these kids don't watch TV. They've got no knowledge of the outside world. Plane goes overhead, they're so confused with it. Mum then likes throwing like toy planes in the backyard, being like, oh, a plane's fell in the backyard. You get to have a plane now. Like they live in the most fucked up inverted world. And my favorite, and it's so funny the way it plays with the abuse in this dynamic, because obviously these are like these are virtually adults that have been repressed now. There's a point later on the film where things take a dour tone, and one of the children, adults, are exposed to VHS films, Rocky and Jaws and stuff like that, and they're already a little bit not okay in the head, so they just start exhibiting all this like outlandish behavior from the films and starts like reciting the dance from Flashdance in the living room, and the family's mortified. And the way they like calm that down is by playing some music from Granddad. Granddad is Frank Sinatra. And Dad's just got to sit there coming up with like Greek translations for this song that's telling him about it. You must respect your parents. Your parents must be proud of you. And it's just Frank Sinatra belting it out in the background. It's very bleak, very dark, super hilarious, and a great jumping on point for like Lanthimos's weirder work. So there's my little art house spiel for you boys. Give you a little culture. I'm sure I'm mostly just giving this ramble because I want to see how Buddy evaluates it after the fact.
I thought you did a good job. Although it did remind me of The Village, so I don't know how.
It has
because it has that like weird stilted dialogue of a Lanthimos film. It's so absurd that it makes you laugh at it. It's just bizarre.
Okay.
Like there's another example. They come up with zombies. Like one of the boys overhears the word zombies and asks, "What's a zombie, Mum?" Oh, it's a little yellow flower out in the yard. So of course, throughout the film, he's like freaking out when he sees little flowers in the backyard.
Right.
Or my favorite one, cunt. That's a light. So when you turn the cunt off, it's dark out. And it's just brilliant. Anyway, throw that one in last for you, boys.
Oh, thanks, Nathan.
I'll take care of you.
Love that. James, how about you?
Yeah, I'm just gotta put down a little time code here real
I'm
quick.
doing that for you. Don't you worry.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Not much. I finally finished my Pirates of the Caribbean watch. So we did the trilogy, obviously, a little while back, and we finally done 4 and 5, which were just dog shit movies. I got nothing, like very little good things to say about that.
Do they got Johnny Depp in them, or is he long gone?
Oh yeah, he is
milking that.
Anyway, not great.
Milk is a good word for it.
Yes. Gundam Zeta continues to be amazing. If anyone's playing along at home, Camille is back in space, and his love affair with 4 has reached its end, and it's just wonderful. It's wonderful. I had to message a friend because I've been getting confused about what faction is what in this universe, and he was like, that's the point. I'm like, cool.
That's exactly right. Yeah, if you figured that out, I'd be worried.
Yeah.
That much attention? What the fuck?
Having a great time. Actually, I really do try to pay attention. It's so easy because I usually watch it like right before I go to bed. So it's easy to just look at my phone occasionally and then like miss a certain moment or whatever in the show. And like to really hone in on an anime is like a wonderful experience.
Lovely.
One Piece.
Good stuff. All right. Before we go 2000 Film of the Week, just a very, very quick musical shout out from me. But Aussie band Wind Waker dropped their new album last week, and it's fucking incredible. Very, very different style to what was brought up probably originally. James, you had a very, very tiny listen, and
I've heard 2 tracks now, and I fucking loved them. So yeah.
Nice. This is like they call themselves like hyper pop is kind of what their vibe is, but it's like
say that.
It's like hip hop, pop, metal. It's like full on screaming. Like there's like
you're describing 100 gex.
Yeah, and I went and saw Dayseeker on the weekend on Saturday night. After I went and watched Carlton lose, and it was good. Good gig from.
How much did you lose by?
14 points or something like that. Yeah,
still
it was sad. It was sad.
You got to stop getting close enough to win it, but not actually fucking win it.
Mate, we're second on the fucking table, and we can't beat bum ass Bulldogs, mate. For Cripps' 200th game, it was devastating. They played.
Those words probably mean something.
They played poor.
None of them are in the Bible though.
But we went to Heartbreaker, so it's all good. went to Heartbreaker afterwards, so we know that. All right. 2000's Film of the Week is supplied by a guest of the show. So I thought we'd spice it up just a little bit. Now, all 3 of them, I feel like we might have done. And I just got to the point where I was like, okay, he's giving me 3 options now. And let's just go with the first one. So I hope.
Let's do it.
I can't even use the fucking.
You just got to edit it on the fly. That's what I do.
A salesman whose life has no direction. However, his uneventful life takes a sudden turn when he has to single-handedly deal with an entire community of zombies.
Shaun of the Dead.
There you go.
So we
I watched
did
that.
do that one.
I watched that last week. I've once watched that movie 4 times in a day. It's one of my favorite films ever.
I may have done that as well, Adam.
Yeah. So easy to
Wow.
do.
Have we done that one before?
We have.
We have.
Oh, we have?
We
Okay.
have. I have. That was,
Oh.
I think, my first.
Okay. Have you also done...
Well, you can't ask. That's
Okay.
the problem.
do you want me to go... Let's do all 3, and we'll give...
But I still appreciate that one, of course.
Oh,
Right.
for sure.
The second one. This one I wasn't too sure, but we'll see. A spaceship full of passengers finds themselves stranded on a planet inhabited. God, I don't know why I struggled with that word. by nocturnal monsters during an eclipse. The only person they can rely on is a... Yep, okay, we got that one. And the third one, have we done that one before?
Nathan
I
backhand
think we might have, but I'm not too sure.
Also, Nathan, I refute your claim that we've done Shaun of the Dead unless it happened during my off season.
I feel like it was my first one.
I feel like it
It
happened
was
during
not.
James's off season.
It wasn't.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Almost
My
certain.
first one
I
was
have
16.
the
Oh,
Google
boy.
sheet.
Oh,
Nice.
Whoa.
sneaky.
The third option. One early morning, Arthur's friend, who is actually an alien, informs him of Earth's impending doom and gloom. And
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
yeah,
If we haven't done that one we'll do today.
We have not.
I
Okay,
do
well,
appreciate that each of the boys who were guessing got one. I think that's
Yeah,
very
it's
good.
nice, isn't it?
nice, good job. Shout outs to Ben Smith for doing those 3 there. I thought we'd done
Solid.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy quite
We
recently.
have done
so-
Shaun of the Dead. I'm an idiot.
Hey.
But it was like 3 or 4 weeks into the process.
Okay.
So
okay, right. Fair enough.
But
Then.
the
I
other
apologize,
two,
Nathan.
but the other 2 were in the clear, eh?
Think
Yeah.
so?
All right, nice job.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Nice.
Ben. Thank you for that. We got 3 this week. Huge week, huge
Big
week for a
week.
huge episode. 3 big reviews, 3 big films of the week. All right. Anything more to do?
Nah, send us home.
All right. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the WellPlayed DLC podcast. You can check out the content on www.well-played.com.au. You can go check out James's Flintlock review
Conscript.
over at Press Part.
Oh,
Press Start. And is there another? No, there's not another embargo we can share, so don't worry about that one. Let the one go through the keeper. You forget it. Have a good weekend. Go see Longlegs.
yeah. Long legs.
Mm.
Go see Cons of Kindness. Got 3 hours? Yeah, do that. No, go see Longlegs.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
See ya.